And then finally, Melbourne, the minor premiers and the favourites for the grand final. Huge year from them. I don't think anyone expected this. Obviously, we saw it in, I believe, 2018, where they came top four. And then since then, they've been pretty underwhelming. So it's sort of hard to know what's the real Melbourne, whether we should have been expecting 2018 or 2019 and 20. But you do have to say they've performed well above expectations. I'll just come out with it straight away. For me, it's probably a 10 regardless of the grand final outcome. I was tempted to say a 9 and then if they win a 10, but I think either way it's a 10. They've just got such an exciting list, and I can't see why they're not going to be good for a long time to come, really. MVP, I've given it to Klolivar just ahead of Petrarca. Obviously, they've got a really good 5 or 6 senior players, but I think Klolivar trumps the lot, and the fact that he's only born in 1997 is just crazy. Best young player, I'll be honest, I did not know who to give it to. I know Luke Jackson won the Rising Star, but I gave it to James Jordan. He's not even picked for the grand final, but he looks like he'll be a good player in the future. Most improved, I've actually given it to Jake Lever. He was obviously a weapon when he came over from Adelaide, and I think his first couple of years at Melbourne were very underwhelming. I think last year he was a lot better. But I think this year he's right back, if not even better than what he has ever been in his AFL career. And his tandem with Stephen May and the third tall defender, whether it be Petty or Tomlinson, is quite comfortably the best defense, tall defense in the competition. So I think he's improved a lot. But as I mentioned, rating 10. Bro, your thoughts on the D season?
Oh. Sorry, I was just on mute. Obviously, no one really saw this one coming. But it's great to see, because obviously Melbourne fans have had it tough for a for a long period of time. To come from predictions of outside the top 8 to finish top of the ladder, to hit their form in final series, and make the grand final and be the favourites, obviously huge for them. I don't predict them to be how when Richmond during their dynasty every single year, I mean it's only just happened, it was only for about 4 or 5 years, but we'd go in thinking Richmond's gonna be the favourite, Richmond's gonna be the favourite, blah blah. I don't think Melbourne's gonna have that same impact of just that next elite level and no one else can trump them. I think they'll obviously be up there, top 4 favourites for the flag and all that, but I just, given the fact that there's still slight weaknesses in their team, which is obviously silly to say given the last few weeks that they've had, but their forward line isn't packed full of stars. I know Fritsch, I still don't 100% rate him as highly as other people do. Ben Brown isn't the player he used to be, but so for that reason, I don't expect them to have these huge this favourite year in year out like Richmond did, and Hawthorn did obviously back in the day, but still expect them to be really strong for the next few years, and it's going to be really exciting to see. For this season, I'm going to give the MVP to Clayton Oliver. Obviously, a huge year in that midfield. Just took his game to just yet another level. I think he was talked negatively for a few years about his ball use and all that, and he's just made everyone that said that look silly this year. He's obviously an absolute weapon, can just do everything. He's just about the complete midfielder. And to have the games like he has against, I think we saw it against Adelaide this year, where he collected 35 touches, kicked 3 goals. Just was one of the most dominant performances that a midfielder's had in the AFL ever. It was absolutely huge. Best young player, obviously a few candidates for this one. I'll give it to Cozzy Piggott just because I love him in that forward line. He's going to be so exciting. I actually didn't realise he's kicked as many goals as he did. I think he's kicked 40 this year, which is which is huge for him as just a pressure forward in his first genuine proper full year of football. It was unreal for him, it's just, I think there was a few doubts when they drafted him, but he's obviously absolutely exceeded those expectations, so that was huge. And most improved, I'll shed a bit of light on Luke Jackson here as well. Obviously the Rising Star Award, and he's, the fact that the Freo asked for him in return for Chero just shows how good he is. So I think it'd be silly not to give him a rating out of 10. So that's what I'm going to be giving them.
Yeah, I'll be honest. When they took a ruckman that high in the draft, I was like, "What the fuck?" Gawny. But they've obviously proven me wrong. That's proven to be a very good draft pick. Yeah, I agree with your call about the dynasty. I think for the next few years, every time someone wins a premiership, we're going to be very quick to jump and say, like, this is the next, big team. But I think we've got to accept that Richmond and Hawthorn and having them in such a close vicinity, I think is pretty freakish and an anomaly. So I'll be shocked if another team for the next decade wins like another 3 in a row or 3 out in 4, because that's pretty rare. Pilch, to round us off, mate, thoughts on the D season?
Yeah, they literally just did a Richmond 2017, just absurd season. Like, I don't know how they've done it. As a fan, you literally cannot ask for any more, in my opinion. It's just like, it's prime example of quality of list is not everything. I think they've just had a insane preseason. Everyone's just come in, played their role to the best of their abilities, and you wouldn't want to be a fan of any other club. So congrats, and yeah, very interested to see what happens next season. But in terms of awards, well, firstly, rating, certainly a 10 out of 10. Awards, Petrarca MVP, controversial, but I think he's arguably the number one player in the comp for impact. Young player, Pickett, and most improved, Jackson.
I can't believe Pickett kicked 40 goals. That's cooked. And hasn't Fritsch kicked like 50 or something? Like, they just seem to rack up the goals when you don't really.
It's a miracle! Oh yeah! What about that one? Unbelievable! Balotelli, Aguero! Crowd cheers. Here's Siddle.